Welcome to Sport Talk with R and J. I'm your host, Steve Risser. I'm along here with Justin D'Onofrio. And we got another busy show. I mean, we got college basketball's in full swing, college football's in full swing, but we got to get to the NFL, and we got to get to this COVID situation in the NFL because it's crazy. And obviously, with the Baltimore Ravens, it's been crazy all week. I mean, this game was postponed 3 times. It got moved it got postponed from Thursday to Sunday. Then it got moved from Sunday to Tuesday. Now it got moved from Tuesday to Wednesday, and they're finally playing it. And they're playing it today at 3:45. It's just crazy situation with them. I mean, the Ravens are going to have a bunch of guys out today. Of obviously Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, Mark Ingram, Matt Judon, Mark Andrews, Calais Campbell. He's got a bunch of guys out today against the Steelers. But you know what? The NFL, the credit to the NFL this year, though, they have not had a game. They have not canceled a game yet due to COVID. You've seen college football, a bunch of games have been canceled. The NFL has not canceled a game due to COVID, so definitely credit them for that. But yeah, it's just a crazy week. And Justin, what are your thoughts on all this with the Ravens and Steelers?
Yeah, it's been crazy because I heard the Steelers this morning put Pouncey on the COVID list. So another test, and I know and I thought all along they probably should have just canceled this game. I thought it would be the smart thing for the NFL to just add the 18th week, just so we don't have to deal with all this craziness. And, because then it's like, it's definitely the Ravens Steelers. So it's always a good game because it's one of the best rivalries in the NFL. But it's like, there's no Lamar Jackson. The Ravens are missing so many starters. It's like, you're kind of watering it down here. Like, and on a Wednesday afternoon, it's like I'll definitely watch the game, but it's like, it's gonna be a blowout. I just feel like it would have been better they cancel it and then move it to like week 18 or something. I don't know why they wanted to make it so difficult. And I just saw Goodell came out like 20 minutes ago, so they have no plans to be in a bowl for the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think that spells trouble. But
to me, that's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how you can't. You should have been planning to be in a bubble since. And I like Goodell. I'm one of the probably few NFL fans that likes Goodell. But how do you not have a bubble? This issue has been going on for the entire season. You do not have a bubble. This should have been started back in October when the issue happened with the Titans and the Patriots. That's what this stuff should have been happening. I don't get how you don't have a bubble. You should definitely have a bubble for the postseason. I mean, I give Manford a lot of crap, but he at least had a bubble for the postseason. I don't understand how you don't have a bubble. It just makes no sense. You can't have this going on the week of the playoffs. I mean, this just can't happen. I have to say, I hate to say it, but just a very, very poor job by Roger Goodell dealing with this issue. And I don't get why there is no bubble.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't see what the big problem would be because it's only going to be a few weeks. Not like these players going to be stuck in it for 3 months. It's like, what are you going to do if something happens like the Ravens this week and you lose your starting quarterback, your couple of your running backs, a couple defensive players, starters? You're going to make them go out there and go play? Like, come on. It just doesn't make any sense. It makes it, and it's like, and even that does happen in the playoffs, it won't even make the game probably entertaining. It's dumb, and it's not a good thing from Goodell right now. They should have been, they should have been planning this since literally, I think since the summer they should have planned on, okay, if this and this happens, we should plan on a bubble. But I don't know. I think that could maybe come back to bite them, but it just shows you they're going to play through anything right now. They don't care. Nothing's stopping them.
Absolutely. And now another bad move by the NFL, and this made no sense not to postpone this game till Monday. I mean, the fact you had the Broncos playing with pretty much Kendall Hinton, a practice squad wide receiver, that's just not right. I mean, come on. That was not right at all. I didn't agree with that at all, making the Broncos play that game. They should have moved it to Monday. But who knows if one of those quarterbacks would have been able to play anyways, because, yes, all 3 of them got cleared yesterday, and now they're practicing. But I just think that was really not a good move by the NFL, even to have the Broncos play on Monday as well.
Yeah, I think that should have been another game that should have been moved to week 18 if we ever had it. Because, how do you because the one that didn't make sense, too, is when the Patriots were supposed to play the Broncos. It's like Cam got COVID, and it was Stephon Gilmore, and then they shut down the game,
But when like a bunch of their guys get COVID, if they don't have a quarterback available, they still play the game.
Yeah, it just I don't get it. I think, for me, it was kind of, I just wanted to see their offense just because I just wanted to see what was going to happen. It's one of those things, but like for somebody, just a casual fan, they got no interest in that. It makes your product look bad that you're making a team go out there. The poor guy hasn't really played quarterback in 2 years and, hasn't taken a snap at quarterback and had only 24 hours to know that he's going to be the starting quarterback. So it just makes no sense. I could maybe see it more if it was like Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday, but not on Saturday night. That was another joke by the NFL.
Yeah, we got a comment from Sean. He says football is in big trouble, and I hate to say this, I might have to agree. And if there's no plan for a bubble, football could definitely be in trouble because of this.
They definitely could. You get something like the Ravens, especially you get to the playoffs. Yeah, you definitely could. Again, I think as we get now, winter, we're getting December now. I think this thing could get worse. Hopefully not, but definitely. I think they definitely could be in trouble if these things start spreading, and especially for teams down the stretch who are out of contention, who are kind of starting to maybe, not be as careful and affect, a team that's getting ready, geared up for the playoffs. It could definitely spell trouble.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it absolutely could. But we're gonna get to the Giants and the big injury that was suffered this Sunday in their game against the Bengals. That was the Daniel Jones strained hamstring against the Bengals. He's going to be out hopefully only this week, but he'll definitely be out. I think he's definitely going to be out against the Seahawks, but I could see maybe him being out against the Cardinals too. I mean, I hope as a Giants fan he gets back for the Cardinal game and he's back 100%. But I see Sean's comment. Not to mention the Jets. That was funny. But yeah, I mean, I go back to Jones. I just hope he's okay. I hope he's okay. This has been an issue. Last year he missed 2 games due to an ankle injury. This year 2 games due to a hamstring. And I remember watching the game, and he came back in for the play after he did it, and it was awkward. It was an awkward throw on 3rd down. Then he tried coming back in the next series, and it wasn't working for him. You knew he was banged up. You knew he had to come out. So it's going to be hard for the Giants. The timing is awful because you know who the Giants got. They got to play the Seahawks in Seattle. They got the Cardinals, the Browns, and then the Ravens. So that's 4 teams right now that are currently in the playoffs, and they potentially might not have their starting quarterback. Just terrible timing for the Giants with them being in first place in the NFC East.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a tough blow. Because he's been playing better too. The last couple of weeks. I thought he's been playing some really good football. The Giants are in first place going to Sunday. So yeah, it's definitely disappointing for him, and it's definitely a huge loss. Always, when you lose your starting quarterback, it's always a tough loss. But you kind of just see they were very out of sync, obviously, without him. Now this week, they, maybe Colt McCoy played better, that they actually put a game plan that works for Colt McCoy. But that, it's definitely not a good sign for the Giants as tough portion of the schedule comes up.
Absolutely. And speaking of the tough portion of the schedule and Colt McCoy, the Giants this week have a brutal game as they have to go to Seattle to face the Seahawks. And in this game, as a Giants fan, obviously you want them to win the game, but you got to be realistic. It's going to be a brutal game for the Giants. And the one thing the Giants have done well on offense is stop the run. But what does Seattle do really well? They stop the run. They're 3rd in the league in rushing yardage. And in the 7 games Jamal Adams has played, they've only allowed over 100 yards rushing once. So I think what the Giants do successfully on offense, they're not going to be able to do in this game against the Seahawks. I think they're going to have a very, very difficult time running the football, and that's going to hurt their offense because that's going to force Colt McCoy to turn the ball over, and that's going to give Russell Wilson the Seahawks short fields, and they're going to take advantage of that. I think their defensive of the Giants has a chance to keep them in the game for 2 reasons. 1, I think they're going to be able to contain their running game of Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde, and 2, I think they're going to be able to get pressure on Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson's going to put up points, and with the Giants being giving the Seahawks some short fields, I think it's going to be a long day for the Giants. I got the Seahawks winning the game 31-13. Justin, I got the Seahawks. As a Giants fan, I want hope. Is there a way with Jones out that this Giants defense could carry them to an upset victory?
I think there is a shot. I have a much closer score than you. I've been 24-16 Seahawks. I think the Giants can keep this thing interesting. I thought Russell played better last week, but I think some of it now their defense has been playing better. But I thought, the last couple of weeks, for the Eagles that Wilson's been forcing some balls, in the coverage, and the Giants secondary has been really good. That James Bradbury signing, bringing over Logan Ryan, those have been great. If you could kind of slow them down in the passing game, slow Russell somehow, I think you guys definitely have a shot. I think, and again, you said the pass rush, if they get to Wilson, if they can slow down the running game, I think if they can get a turnover too and create a short field for their offense, I think they'll be okay. But I think the Giants, I really like the way the Giants defense has been playing. Their defense played really well last week. They gave up the special teams the kick return. So defense only gave up one touchdown. But again, I think the defense comes fired up, ready to play. I think JoJo's gonna have them ready to go. I think they keep this in close.
Yeah, there is a chance of that, but I just feel just what the Giants do so well on offense, Seattle does so well on the Giants do well on the Giants have been doing well on offense. Seattle does really well on defense. And if Daniel Jones was playing, I would want the Giants to attack that secondary. I would definitely I think if Daniel Jones played, this would be a one-score game. But just what Seattle does so well on defense, stopping the run, that's what the Giants have been doing well on offense. And now that the Giants have a backup quarterback, it's just going to be very difficult for them.
Yeah, it is. I definitely worry about the offense in this game. I think, it's definitely going to be taught. Yeah, because the one thing Seattle does well enough, and they're probably going to throw 8 in the box and tell Colt McCoy to beat you. I assume that again, I think he's been in the league long enough. I think they tailor a game plan to him this week that works for him. Again, I don't think he's going to come out and play great, but he can kind of manage his game if they can get some passes. If he can complete a couple passes early and kind of open up that defense and make them respect the pass more, I think it would really help out the Giants very, very much on Sunday. I'm not very high on that, but again, I think I think the defense can keep them in this game. I really do think JoJo's going to have a good game plan defensively, and I think they do keep this close. I think they also make a play on special teams as well to keep this thing interesting.
Yeah, it's the part we forget about the game. So it'll be interesting to see. Big matchup, definitely a big matchup with the first place Giants heading to Seattle to face the Seahawks. But we got to get to your team, who is coming off a win last week. They're still mathematically in contention. They head all the way out to LA to face the Chargers this week. And I think this is a really, really close competitive game. I think that the Chargers actually, man for man, have more talent than the Patriots. But the coaching staff of the Patriots isn't just better than the Chargers. It is much, much better than the Chargers. I mean, it's not even funny. If Bill Belichick is coaching the Chargers, I don't like to use hypotheticals, but Bill Belichick's coaching the Chargers, they probably have at least 5 wins. I mean, I think in this game, the Patriots, yes, they've struggled to run the ball the last couple of weeks, but I think in this game, they do have success running the ball with Damian Harris. I think they get some rushing on the ground, keep the ball out of Cam's hands. I think Cam might have a touchdown run or maybe a touchdown pass. And I do think the Patriots, I think they make a play on special teams that could result in a touchdown, and I think the Chargers might make another bad play on special teams, miss an extra point here and there. And I think Justin Herbert might have that one turnover that he has. He's good, but he always has that one turnover that costs his team every game. So I think this is a close, competitive game, but I'm going to go to the Patriots to go to 6-6 to win the game 27-23. Justin, we know Herbert only has 2 wins as a starter over the Jets and Jags. Can he beat a team that's not the Jets and Jags?
I think, there's a very good possibility. Now this is more a superstition pick here because last few weeks I feel like I picked the Pats and they lose the game, and I pick against them, they won. So I'm going to pick against them. But I think they should be able to win this game because of the coaching staff-wise. As you mentioned, Bill should definitely out-coach Anthony Lynn. But yeah, Bill Belichick always has a great game plan, it seems like, against rookie quarterbacks. He always seems to have their number. So that
Joe said that defense kept giving him the ball last week, and he couldn't score. Don't love Herbert. Yeah, he's right about that. And I think it could be very similar this week against Cam Newton. The defense could give him the ball, but Herbert could have that one turnover that cost them that ends up costing them. and then they can make a bad play on special teams, which will help the Patriots.
Yeah, and I think that it definitely could happen. I thought Gilmore played really well last week in Hopkins. I know they didn't take too many shots because Murray's still banged up, I think. But so I thought defensively they played really well last week. I feel like they're getting better. Adam Butler had a great game. He was deflected pass, sack. I think he can if he can continue what he did last week, I think, put some pressure on Herbert, make him rush some throws. But again, they have enough weapons to be able to score some points to Chargers. It wouldn't surprise me going in the fourth quarter, Herbert kind of in the Chargers in the lead and they kind of blow this thing. Cause if he can stay away from that turnover, I definitely think the Chargers have a good shot. This team definitely should have more than 3 wins, obviously, but they're at 3-8. I think they definitely do pose a challenge to the Patriots, but I think coaching is the huge difference in this game. And I think New England will be able to survive, but I'll just pick against them just in case.
You going with the superstitious pick just like last week.
Yep.
So we got a huge AFC matchup in Nashville as the Browns travel to Nashville to face the Titans. I got the Titans winning this one 31-24, and here's why. I think that the Titans are going to be able to run the ball down the Browns' throat. I think the Titans, obviously, the last 2 years, their identity is running the football. Derrick Henry is a big game against this Browns defense. I think Denzel Ward being out for the Browns is big. I think A.J. Brown is a big game too. So I think the Titans get in the 30s. I do think the Browns run the football with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I think they have success doing that too. But the difference is going to be the quarterback, and I'm taking Ryan Tannehill over Baker Mayfield. Justin, even though I'm taking Tannehill over Mayfield, is there a way that Baker Mayfield can outduel Ryan Tannehill?
I think there's a way. I do have the Titans right now winning this one 31-27. Now, Baker, I thought, played really well last week against a Jacksonville defense, especially secondary that's banged up and young, inexperienced. And Titans secondary is not much better, I don't think, than the Jaguars. He really got Jarvis Landry involved. I think that was his best game of the Brown last week. If Baker could, he still missed some guys, some easy targets that he had. If he can kind of correct those, and especially, if he can correct those in this game, I definitely think Baker has a shot to be able to go on the road and win this game. I don't think it's out of the question. That was his first touchdown pass too last week since like week 7. I know they've been playing some bad weather, which isn't, a sign that he's, because we know it hasn't been a great year for him. But I think he can do enough. I think he's got the weapons, and against a Tennessee defense that's not really good or it's not great right now, I think he definitely has a shot to put up some points. As long as his line can give him some time, I think he could definitely pick apart this team. It would not shock me to see the Browns move to 9-3. As
Joe said, Joe puts a comment down. If Landry didn't play last week, the Jags win. They also left 7 points on the field, missed field goal, and 2 failed 2-point conversions. Oh, yeah. I mean, listen. I mean, the Browns are an 8-3 team, but they're very similar to what the Giants were 4 years ago when they were 8-3. I mean, they're an 8-3 team with an average to below average quarterback, and if they can't play a specific way with the running game, they're in big trouble, as you saw when they lost to the Steelers and as you saw when they lost to the Ravens. So they really, really rely on their running game a ton. And say the Titans stop the run and contain the running game of Chubb and Hunt, they'll win the game by 2 scores. But I just think this run game for the Browns is outside of them, and the Titans have the top two running games in the league. But the Browns' running game is so good where I think they're going to be able to have success running the ball.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, it's definitely going to help out Baker Mayfield in the play action because, there's going to be times you're probably going to get somebody to bite on the play action, bite on the run, and guys are going to be open. So, I think because of that, I think Baker definitely could have a nice day in that, especially if they can, again, maybe to get out, if they can kind of get a lead in this game too. Again, it kind of put less pressure on Baker instead of having him have to come back from behind. I think will make things a lot better.
Yes, Joe, I get the point. Baker Mayfield is a below-average quarterback. I get it. And the more you take the ball out of his hands, the more you take the ball out of his hands, the better. And that's Baker is a big liability for the Browns. I get it. But I'm just saying, if they do have success running the ball, it's very hard for me to think they're not going to be in this game. But yes, Joe is right. Baker is definitely a liability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely is. I don't, he's not a great quarterback. He's not been worthy of that number 1 pick that Browns took him at. But I just think because of how bad I'm with you, how bad the Titans defense is, he's going to put up some points in this game. He's going to make some plays. And especially, if they can run the ball as well, it's going to make things a lot easier for him, as it usually does.
Yes. So we have a AFC South matchup in Houston as the AFC South. The Colts travel down to Houston to face the Texans, and I got the Colts winning this game 28-24. I think they're going to be able to, with Jonathan Taylor back from the COVID-19 list. I think they're going to be able to run the football and have success doing that against this Texans defense. And I do think that we'll see what happens with DeForest Buckner, but it won't matter as much this week because the Texans can't run the ball at all. I mean, yes, DeForest Buckner is good rushing the passer, but I do think not having DeForest Buckner won't be as big of a deal this week, and the Texans won't have Will Fuller either. So I think this is a close competitive game, but I got the Colts winning it 28-24. And Justin, even though the Texans don't have Fuller, do you think Deshaun Watson can carry the Texans to another victory?
I think he could. I got the Texans too in this one, 30-27. I know he lost Fuller. I know Randall Cobb's out as well on the year with the number 2 receiver. But I think since Romeo Crennel's taken over taking the interim head coaching job, I really like the way this team's been playing. I kind of throw it that, especially since that bye, I kind of take out that Browns game. It was such an ugly football. They still lost. It was an ugly game. But pretty much besides that game, I think their offense has been really, really good. I think he's going to get the Titans going in Fells and Atkins because they both killed New England. I think Watson gets them involved. And I haven't liked Indy's defense the last few weeks. They should have lost against Green Bay. They gave up 45 last week against the Titans. And with Buckner out, I feel more confident with the Texans. I think Watson makes enough plays, and I really like the way this team's playing. Again, I don't think that can they get much of a run game? I don't think so still, but I think Watson makes enough plays with his legs, and I think he makes enough throws downfield. And I'm going to take Texans to get the upset. Yeah,
and Joe just said Titans could have scored 50 if they tried. Definitely. I mean, yeah. Buckner was a huge loss, but still, even though Buckner was out, that's not a complete excuse that the Colts wouldn't have had it. Henry wouldn't have had the game he had. He rushed for over 100 yards the game previous. Colts defense needs to play better to beat the Texans this week. I mean, you could say Buckner's out, but that's not an excuse.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely not. He's a huge piece of that defense, but still, I think they have enough talent on that defense where just because he's out, they still shouldn't be giving up the play that they did last week because they looked awful. And he's such a great player, but still, I think their defense, the other guys they have around them, are still pretty good on defense. That they shouldn't be giving up 45 points, especially a Titan team that they shut down 10 days, 2 weeks prior. They really played well against. So it's definitely a huge loss. But again, Colts should be playing much better than they have the last few weeks.
Oh yeah, definitely. But we got to get to an NFC South game in Atlanta as the Saints travel to Atlanta to place the Falcons in a rematch from 2 weeks ago. And I think I'm taking the Falcons in an upset in this game. I think the Falcons are playing better football under Raheem Morris. I think if you could look earlier in the season, they could have won 2 games. They really should have won 2 games earlier in the year too against the Cowboys and the Bears. So the Falcons are 4-7, but they're better than that 4-7 record. I think Matt Ryan has a good game throwing the ball to Julio Jones because Jones and Gurley will be back this week. Falcons had a big week last week against the Raiders, beating them 43-6. I think that Jones has a big game. Ryan has a big game. And I think that this is a game where Taysom Hill just can't manage the game to win. I think he's going to have to make plays. I think he's going to struggle to do that because the Falcons are good at stopping the run. And I think they, contain Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray. And I got the Falcons in the upset. But Justin, here's my question. Can Taysom Hill manage the Saints to their 3rd straight win?
I think they could. Again, the big thing is, I think they're going to be carried by their defense. They're on, offense played well. Taysom Hill's been playing pretty well so far. Again, it hasn't been a huge challenge that he has to face yet. But I think he can. But I think it's the defense that sets him up. I think they forced Matt Ryan to make a couple more turnovers. He works with a short field, and that he gets the lead again, and then they're able to kind of just run and manage and they manage the clock. They run the ball with Murray and Kamara, and then Taysom Hill, the plays that he has to make with his arm, I think he makes enough of them where I think the Saints do get the win. I think I have the Saints win at 27-20. But Falcons are definitely playing better. I definitely love the way that they played last week against the Raiders. But I really like this Saints team right now, especially on the defensive side. And I think that's the big reason why Taysom Hill can carry them or manage the game wise to get them to 10-2.
The Dolphins should win their second in a row and their fifth in 6 games as they're I think there's seventh in 8 games as they welcome the Cincinnati Bengals down to South Florida. And I think this game is going to be obviously a blowout. I got the Dolphins winning 27-10. Justin, what do you got?
Yeah, I got Dolphins 24-10. Dolphins win again.
We got an NFC North matchup in Chicago as the Lions, who just fired their coach Matt Patricia, and Darrell Bevell took over as the interim head coach, head to Chicago to face the Bears, who have lost 5 in a row. And this is such a brutal game to pick because both these teams have played so poorly recently. Both these teams haven't played well. And but thinking about this game, I personally got the Bears winning at 20-17. Here's my reason: Mitch Trubisky plays really well against the Lions. He's 4-2 against the Lions. He's won 4 straight against the Lions, and the Lions have been a mess. And they're probably not going to have Kenny Galladay too. So I got the Bears winning this game. But Justin, will the firing of Matt Patricia spark the Lions this week?
I think it does, and I got the Lions going on the road 23-20. The Lions should have won this game back in week 1, and they choked it as they usually do. But again, I think, unfortunately, I think it's it was about time to make the move from Matt Patricia, and I really do think that this team comes out and plays inspired football now, because you could just kind of tell they didn't really give much effort last week against the Tech, especially defensively. And I feel more confident to pick too, because it's the opposite thing right now for the Bears. Matt Nagy's kind of calling everybody out right now. It just doesn't seem like they're all there. And you wonder about that defense too now, at a point where they kind of start to shut down, just because of how bad their offense has been. I think they're the first teams since like 1967, the 49ers team in 1967, to win their first 5 out of 6 games and then lose 5 straight afterwards. So that's why I feel like the Lions right now are in a better position, because now, unfortunately, the firing of Matt Patricia. But I think they come out and play inspired football this week, and I think they go on the road and win this game.
Got the Raiders heading all the way to East Rutherford to face the Jets, and I do think this game is close just because the Raiders won't have Jacobs, but I'm not picking the Jets to win the game until they win one. And yes, I'm a Sam Darnold guy. I might be one of the only 2 people, me and Dan Orlovsky, that still think he might be a franchise quarterback, but the team is terrible, and I got the Raiders winning close over the Jets. Justin, who you got?
Yeah, I got the Raiders winning this one 24-20. I changed it just a bit now because Jacobs is out now, but Raiders are not great at MetLife, and last year the Jets destroyed them, but I think the Raiders do enough. They bounce back from last week's debacle and take down the Jets.
We got the playoff hopeful Vikings welcoming the Jaguars to Minnesota this week. And I got the Vikings winning a close one, 31-27. I think the Jaguars hang in this game. I think James Robinson has a big day on the ground. I think Glennon has a pretty good game too against the Vikings defense. But I think for the Vikings, I think Cook has a big day on the ground if he plays. I think Cousins has a big day through the air. And I got the Vikings winning this game. But the question I got, can Robinson and the Jags offense carry them to their second victory, Justin?
I think it's very possible. I cannot believe the Vikings are a 10-point favorite in this game. And again, I think their offense, because the Vikings defense isn't great. They should have lost last week to the Vikings. Should have lost Panthers last week. I think, and I really like the way Mike Glennon played. I think if Glennon could, play turnover-free football like he did last week, And again, they open up things for James Robinson in the running game. I think he could run wild against this Vikings defense, and I think this is Jacksonville's probably last shot here to maybe get a win here, maybe against the Bears, maybe. But it would not shock me at all to see Jacksonville come in this game. Again, because it's their offense. The Viking defense isn't great, and then it would not shock me because they have enough weapons with DJ Chark. And I would not shock me at all to see the Jacksonville Jaguars win this game.
We got the Eagles traveling to Lambeau Field to face the Packers. And we remember last year when the Eagles needed a must win, and they went into Lambeau Field and got that win. And I do think the Eagles do match up well with the Packers because I think Miles Sanders will have a better game, much better game than he had on Monday night. I think he'll be able to run the ball. But at the end of the day, let's get real. It's Aaron Rodgers against Carson Wentz. That's why I got the Packers winning 31-20. I think Rodgers has a big day through the air. I think he throws 3 or 4 touchdown passes. And I think that Zadarius Smith has a big day getting to Carson Wentz. I think the Packers going to sack Carson Wentz a couple times. And I know the offensive line is bad, but he takes way too many sacks. I got the Packers winning. But, Justin, we know the potential of Carson Wentz. Can he the switch and outduel Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I don't think there's any much of a chance of that happening this week. And some of it I blame on Carson, and some of it I blame on the coaching staff. Because, first for the coaching staff, where's kind of the creativity? You don't have much of an offensive line right now. Your weapons, most of your weapons are all banged up. Where's like some of these creative play calling? Where's like that Philly special play we saw? Where is that part of the Eagles offense right now? Because they definitely need some of that just to help, just to, get something going and maybe, just get some confidence, just light a spark, on a big trick play or something. They need some of that. And then for Carson, the problem is sometimes he holds on to the ball way too long, so then he gets rid of it too quickly. He missed a couple wide open guys Monday night. That interception in the end zone, I forgot he threw it what Seahawks he threw it to, but
that was a horrible coaching mistake too. Peterson should have kicked the 3. Yeah. I knew watching the game. There's no way Doug wasn't going for it.
Oh yeah. They should have definitely kicked the field goal. And then, that's part's kind of on Carson. I just, again, I just think it's a confidence thing right now. I really do. I just think he's just mentally defeated right now. And I think the more and more I watch him, the more and more I kind of you just keep seeing it. There's just no way he goes to Lambeau and outduels Aaron Rodgers. I just can't see it. I got the Packers 31-21.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm happy that I agree with you because I definitely want the Eagles losing that game as a Giants fan. So we got the Rams heading to Arizona to face the Cardinals, and this is going to be a close, competitive divisional game. And I think I got the Rams winning at 23-20. And the biggest reason why I got the Rams winning at 23-20 is I trust Sean McVay over Cliff Kingsbury. I think Sean McVay is clearly a better coach than Cliff Kingsbury. I think Cliff Kingsbury should be questioned as a head coach. And last week to show you why Cliff Kingsbury should be questioned as a head coach. Terrible special teams. The special teams for the Cardinals were absolutely pathetic against the Patriots. And then the bad penalties too. I mean, that penalty at the end of the game by Isaiah Simmons was totally inexcusable. That just cannot happen to a team that wants to make a run to a Super Bowl. And I think this is a close competitive battle. I do have the Rams winning 23-20, and I think the reason why is I think that Aaron Donald pressure on Kyler Murray. Even though Kyler Murray will make a play, he'll definitely make a mistake. I think Jared Goff will make plays, but he'll make mistakes too. But I think the Rams run the ball better, and I think the Rams make the stop on defense that they need to make at the end of the game. That's why I got the Rams winning this game. But, Justin, you saw Kyler Murray play last week against the Patriots. Can he bounce back against this Rams defense?
Right now, I don't think he's healthy still. Because they didn't take any shots again last week in New England. I really think he's banged up, and that scares me because I really feel like with the Rams and the way they can get pressure on the quarterback, I feel like this could potentially be a long day on his shoulder. If they can get to him and hit him and just, even push, as he throws the ball, I think this could be potentially a very long game for Arizona. Again, maybe he is healthy this week. I don't know. They haven't really said much about the injury, but if he's healthy, I feel a lot more confident this pick, but I just don't think he's healthy. And, as you discussed, some of the play calling too, I didn't really like last week's New England. Some of their fourth down, attempts, I thought they should have kicked at the end of the half. But I think the Rams get pressure on him. I still don't think he's healthy. I think they can slow down that running game, and the Rams force a couple turnovers, help up Goff in that offense, and the Rams go on the road and bounce back and get the win. Even their last week they didn't look great, but I'm going to take the Rams to go on the road. I like the way the Rams. I trust more the Rams than the Cardinals are now.
Got it. And an AFC West matchup on Sunday Night Football as the Broncos travel to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. And this shouldn't be a game. That should be a Sunday Night Football game. I don't know why this game wasn't flexed out. And I think the Chiefs win this game big. I think Mahomes has a big day. I think the Chiefs have a big day on the ground too. And I think that the Broncos, not knowing who their quarterback is going to be, I think it'll be Drew Lock, but Drew Lock is not a good quarterback. So that's why I got the Chiefs winning at 34-10 over the Broncos. Justin, who you got?
Yeah, 34-14 Chiefs. They should roll in this one. We saw it a few weeks ago. Denver really couldn't do much offensively in the snow against Kansas City. They couldn't stop them either. I think Denver's could be for another long game, and I agree. I don't know how this is the Sunday night game. It's another bad selection, but blowout. Casey wins.
We'll go to the Monday night games, and we'll start in the NFC East. The NFC East, where the Redskins travel to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers, and I think this game is going to be closer than people think. I think one of the biggest reasons why is you look at the Steelers; they're playing today. They got to turn around and then play Monday, so they're going to have a really short week. And if you look at the Redskins, who played on Thanksgiving, they pretty much bye a week because they're now not playing until this Monday. So I think the Redskins will be the rested team, and I think the Redskins will compete in this game. I think Smith will keep them in the game and not turn the ball over. I think the Skins will get pressure on the quarterback, but I think Big Ben will make more plays than Alex Smith, and that'll be the difference in a close game. And I got the Steelers winning at 24-17. Justin, I got the Steelers winning the game. Can this Redskins front four play well enough for the Skin? No, I mean, could this Washington front four play well enough for Washington to pull an upset?
I definitely think there's a possibility. I got the Steelers winning this one 23-14, but I think there's definitely a possibility. Now, the thing is, the Steelers have only given up 10 sacks in the year. But the thing is, this is probably the best pass rush they're going to face in Washington this week or in next Monday. So I think we're really going to find out a lot about the Steelers offensive line. They're good, but this is definitely the best pass rush they're going to see. If this pass rush can get to Big Ben, which I think they will a couple of times, if they can make him throw an interception or they hit him and he fumbles the football, they turn him over, get a short field. I think Washington definitely has a very nice shot of winning this game, especially, as you mentioned, they're going to be off for 11 days. They're going to be, well rested. But I think right now that that the Steelers just have a little bit too much for them. But I think this pass rush does do enough to keep them in it. But I don't know if their offense could score enough points to help them be able to win this game.
We got the second Monday night game as the Bills travel to Glendale, Arizona, because that's where the Niners have to play because they can't play in Santa Clara this week to the Bills play 49ers. And I got the Niners win at 24-20. And the biggest reason is going to be the ground game. I think the Niners got, with Raheem Mostert back, I think the Niners ran the ball well against the Rams. I think they do that against the Bills. I think they run the ball well. And on the defensive side of the ball, I think Richard Sherman makes a difference. Josh Allen makes a mistake or two. And I got the Niners going to 6-6 and winning this one close. Justin, I got the Niners winning the game, but do you Josh Allen can play mistake free and keep the Bills in first place this week?
I got the Bills winning this one 27-21. I think he can. He still has not thrown an interception in the red zone in his career, which I think's, pretty good. Obviously, great to not be able to turn the ball over in the red zone. Again, I know Sherman's back, which was a huge help in that secondary, but with Stephon Diggs out there, even Cole Beasley has been a nice pickup for him. I know Brown's out, but I think that they have, I think the Bills have a little bit too much for him. Now, as long as the Bills can protect for Josh Allen and give him some time, I think he's able to play mistake-free football, and I think he's able to go on the road and get the team to win. The Bills are, always a weird team. It feels some weeks, they come out playing really well, and some weeks it's just they're flat and they kind of survive. I feel like this is one of the weeks where they kind of get it going, especially the Niners having to play a home game down in Arizona. I feel like, could be, also obviously a weird situation for the Niners. But, as long as I definitely think Josh Allen can keep away from the can stay away from the turnovers. And I think Bills go on the road and move to 9-3.
We got the final Monday night game, and the Cowboys traveled up to Baltimore to face the Ravens. And I feel like the Ravens are going to get most of their guys back off the COVID-19 list before this game. So I think they're able to control this game on the ground. The Cowboys are just not a good football team with Andy Dalton. I think Dalton's going to turn the ball over a bunch of times. I mean, I have the Ravens winning at 28-10. And I know I have the Ravens winning, but knowing I'm a fan of an NFC East team and the Cowboys are still, mathematically in it, with Andy Dalton's knowledge of the Ravens defense because he played in Cincinnati, is there any chance that Dalton could lead the Cowboys to an upset in this game?
Well, yeah, I think they could put up some points. I just don't know if their defense is going to be able to slow down the Ravens. I got the Ravens winning this 38-21. Like, I think this is a get-right game for the Ravens. With all the weapons they have and with the Ravens being so banged up, and it's, again, with the COVID right now, it's like, I guess you still don't really know who's going to be back or whatnot, or, there could be some more positive tests, come through the next few days. Who knows? So, definitely could be a shot with all the weapons they have, though. But again, I give more, I think more that hurts them is the play calling. Again, last week against Washington, first and goal at the 5-yard line. You can't punch it in and you go backwards. It's just some of those things that I think are going to cost the Cowboys. And again, and I don't know, and especially how banged up the Cowboys are on the offensive line right now. I think they'd be down 3 starters, I believe, right?
Yeah, Martin would be out. I know Martin's going to be out. That's one guy I know's out.
Yeah, and then I think a couple other guys are questionable. So who knows? The game's still another 6 days away. But I feel like the Ravens could get get a lot of pressure on Dalton. But again, if Dalton has time, they have the weapons to be able to make some plays and score some points. But I don't. Something told me I think this is going to be a get right game for the Ravens. And Cowboys have enough.
Yeah, and the big strength of the Cowboys is their receiving core with CeeDee Lamb, with Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. But the thing is the Ravens have the best pair of corners in the league with Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. Yeah,
they do, which is definitely a worry. But again, then they also have behind them, CeeDee Lamb as well. That I thought been playing a little bit bad. It's been playing well when they kind of give him the ball. They definitely, obviously have Zeke as well, which I think, they got to start using more. I know they kind of trailed in games, but, I think you got to be able to use them like they did against the Vikings. Again, try to use them more in the passing game in this one. But, yeah, that does with the corners that Ravens have. But I do think Dalton makes enough plays because we've seen the Ravens give up some big plays at times this year, and I think there could be a time where the Cowboys definitely do get something going offensively and make a play or two, but just not enough.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. I just think the Ravens win this one big. But we're going to move to college football. We're going to get to the top 25 last night. And those at the top. I mean, if the top 7 stayed the same, you had Bama 1, 2, Clemson 3, Ohio State 4, Texas A&M 5, Florida 6, and Cincinnati 7. And yes, we will Ohio State situation a little bit later when we talk about their game. But the thing that surprised me last night was Iowa State 13 and going all the way up to 9. And passing Indiana won last week, passing Oklahoma. They didn't play, but they still have as many they did beat Oklahoma, so I'll give them that. They passed Miami last week too. So that was the thing that surprised me the most, and it still surprises me that how BYU's getting disrespected. Now they're number 13.
Yeah, it is. So I'll start with Iowa State because Iowa State's been good. Texas handed them that victory last week. They should have lost that game last Friday against Texas. They handed it to them. There's some dumb mistakes that Texas has been making all year, penalties, just dumb. So and I know because now they're 7-2. They got the head-to-head over Oklahoma, so they had to bump them ahead of them. But I was surprised they did move up to 9. That did get me. But because again, the 2 losses, they got no shot. I know they're going to play for Big 12 title, but still they don't have much of a chance. They have no chance to get to the playoffs. But then for BYU, the thing is too. Think about this: BYU's strength of schedule is 81, I believe, in the country now. Ohio State's 77. Not much difference.
I know.
If you're saying it's football, who cares about And I know they all care about the brand, but it's football. This is one of the top teams in the country, and they're still sitting there at 13.
They have a Heisman Trophy candidate and an NFL draft prospect.
Yeah,
as their quarterback.
Yeah. Again, I don't understand. And I know their excuse for the Boise State game was Boise State, quarterback got a concussion on the first series of the game. It still wouldn't have been close, even if the quarterback would have played in that game. The eye test. If they're really believing the eye test, if they really say that you're using it, I don't really buy it because again, this has been better. They're better than 13th ranked team in the country. Again, and this has been the problem with the committee though. We've seen it. It's the brand names, and that's why they need to expand it. But it's such a joke that they're sitting there still at 13. It really is.
Oh, it's a total joke. It's a total joke. They should at least be. I would say they should at least be number 8. They should be no lower than 8. Seeing the quarterback they have, I haven't. Admittingly, you've seen much more BYU football than me. But seeing the quarterback that they have and seeing how good he is, and the way they play this year, and them being undefeated, they should be at least number 8.
Oh, yeah, they should. And I know it's a schedule. Everybody complains about the schedule, but it's not. They didn't cancel over everybody. Everybody canceled on them. They had games. They had 5 or 6 Power 5 games lined up this year. So they did. In a year where they really can't control this, they did all that they could. And to still kind of not even give them a benefit of doubt is awful. And yet this offense is so fun to watch. Zach Wilson's been a great story. Even their defense is playing really well. They're giving up less than 2 touchdowns. They've been so good on both sides of the ball. They've been one of the most complete teams in the country. And they should be number 8 because again, you have a 2-loss Georgia and a 2-loss Iowa State team up there. No disrespect to those 2 teams because they're good, but BYU should be sitting there at least number 8.
Absolutely. So we'll get to the games this week, and we got Texas A&M heading to Auburn, and this is a big game. I think this is going to be a close and a competitive game. I think it's a huge test for Texas A&M. I think if they get by this, they're going to finish. They played Tennessee the last week. I think Tennessee the last week, and if they get they play Tennessee at Tennessee. So they play them the next week. So they if they get by this, they should end the season with 1 loss. And I think this is going to be a really close competitive game. I think Isaiah Spiller is going to have a big game on the ground. I think Kellen Mond's going to have a good game through the air. And I do think that Bo Nix is going to have a game too. I know he's been inconsistent all year, but this is a home game that I think he'll play well in. I'm taking A&M, but here's the big question, Justin. Can Bo Nix spoil Texas A&M's playoff chances?
That's a small chance. I don't really know. I don't think they have. Again, I think if Texas A&M, I have the Aggies win this one 24-13. If the Aggies too, I think the big reason why is the Aggies defense. Now their offense, Kellen Mond's taking a huge step up this year, but it's been their defense. Their defense ranks 5th right now against the rush. And what is Gus Malzahn's offense designed to do? It's a run first, and then they love to come off the play action. And that's when Bo Nix is at his best. But I don't think that's going to happen much, especially if Bigsby, the Auburn's starting running back, is going to be injured this week. I don't know if he's officially out or not yet. But I think this could potentially be a very long game for Auburn in the offense because I feel like they're going to have to throw the football. And that's not when Bo Nix is very good. He can't drop back and beat you 40 or 50 times. He needs that running game to kind of support him. And they love to use that first. I don't think they're able to do that. Again, I think Texas A&M had so much rust last week too. It's such a young team. They had 3 weeks off. I think they had to go 2 weeks without practice even because they had, the cases that were spiking. So I'm going to go with the Aggies 24-13. They continue that one loss and try to sneak in the playoffs.
All right, we got number 4 Ohio State scheduled to travel to East Lansing this week and play the Spartans. The game is really – because we know Ohio State, if they play, is going to win the game. So that's really not the storyline. The big storyline is say this game is not played. And Ohio State – that would be 3 games Ohio State loses on their schedule. So they would be ineligible to play in the Big Ten championship game. Say they end the season going say they end up going 6-0. If they end the season going 6-0, would you put the college football playoff over teams like over a team? Would you still put them in the college football playoff if they're undefeated? That's the big question I got for you, Justin.
You broke up right when you said the record. What record do you have them? 4-0.
They're 4-0 right now, but they would finish 6-0. Would you still have them in the? Would you still have them in the playoff?
Nah, without the Big Ten title, I would say no. And the thing is, too, they haven't looked dominant. What's the weird thing about it would be if they don't go to the Big Ten championship game and everything kind of holds its own in the West Division, they would end up probably playing Wisconsin as like that number 2 team in the division.
I think in a way that might help them too.
That definitely could. But it's like, unless they blow them out, they haven't looked great yet. They had the 35-7 leads in Indiana. They let them come back. They let Penn State hang around for almost 3 quarters. They haven't looked sharp yet. They haven't, for the most part, really. Again, Rutgers, they gave up 27 points. Nebraska is pretty much the only one, I would say. They really kind of started in the second quarter wise. They started to take major control of that game. But their opponent's record right now is 9-14. Michigan State's 2-4 or 2-3, and Michigan's 2-4. So they're not getting a big win unless Wisconsin or Indiana or Wisconsin or Northwestern. So with their schedule, I would say no unless they blow out all 3. Unless they start blowing out some guys out. I don't think so. But I think the brand probably would help them. But I don't think they would deserve to get in. But I think it would depend on what happens with kind of the SEC as well with Florida, Texas A&M, and Alabama. But I would go no right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. For the game, obviously, we don't really need to spend much time on it. Ohio State wins. And what do you got, Justin, if they play?
Yeah, I got Ohio State. I think this is, Michigan State played spoiler. But I think they struggle in this one. I think Ohio State comes out ready to play and they win big.
Got a rivalry game in Knoxville as the number 6 Gators travel to Knoxville to face the Vols. And I personally think Kyle Trask has a big day. Kyle Pitts has a big day. And Florida wins this game big. But I know there's been a lot of upsets in college football this year. Is there any way that Tennessee could spoil Florida's chances of clinching the SEC East?
Oh, there's no way. There is no way. And the problem has been since that game against Georgia, Tennessee in the second half has been outscored. I believe it is 110 to like 14. I believe it's like, yeah. It's coaching. It's Jeremy Pruitt had not been able to make much adjustments. I could see this thing being close to half because Florida hasn't been great the last few weeks, in the first half. But I think this is a game that could definitely get away from Tennessee in the second half. I think Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts, I think the offense has a big day. Dan Mullen was not happy with Todd Grantham, the defensive coordinator, Saturday. He was screaming at him a couple times. I think this defense comes out and plays well. I think this is going to be a long day for the Volunteers. I think it's like 42-10. I think it's a long day. Wow.
So we got a Big Ten matchup in Madison as Indiana, who lost Penix Jr. this week to a torn ACL, go to Wisconsin to face the Badgers. And I think in this game, I think Wisconsin, because Penix is out, wins it by a couple scores. I think they'll run the ball. I think Mertz has a bounce-back game from the game he had against Northwestern. And I got Wisconsin winning by 2 scores. But here's the question I got. How much of a chance do you give Indiana to win this game without Penix Jr.?
Very little, unfortunately. But the only chance they have is they got to do what Northwestern did and force 4 or 5 turnovers and let Jack Tuttle and that offense kind of work for the short field. But the thing is, Indiana can't run the ball. So now you put pressure on Jack Tuttle. They're not going to be able to run the ball in Wisconsin. That's going to be a huge problem, obviously. And I don't think they're going to have much success in the passing game. I think they create a turnover or 2, but it won't be enough. And I think the Badgers roll and win this thing 27-13. They just, it's unfortunate for Indiana. They just don't have enough.
We got an ACC matchup in Blacksburg as Clemson travels to 4-5 Virginia Tech. And again, I think Clemson wins this game big. I think Clemson wins it by 3 or 4 scores. But I will ask the question, Justin, with all the upsets we've had, is there any chance Virginia Tech spoils Clemson clinching a berth in the ACC championship game?
No, I don't know if you saw that first quarter at Clemson last week, but that was a team that was angry. That's a team I would not want to face right now. And this is a Virginia Tech team that Justin Fuente's seat right now is very, very hot right now. He's in a lot of trouble. The thing is, too, Clemson's, Brett Venables is going to take away what you do best, and Virginia Tech loves to run the football. They're top 10 in that with Khalil Hubbard and Raheem Blackshear, but they can't throw the ball. Hayden Hooker's not a great passer, and I think Clemson tears these guys up. And it's Bud Foster's first year gone, retired D coordinator, and Virginia Tech has one of the worst defenses in the country right now. It is not, they're not great. They're not getting better. I think they're getting worse, and Clemson wins this thing big.
Last game we'll talk about, and who thought we would spend this little time about this game before the season? But we are going as Bama travels to LSU to face the Tide, and this Bama big. And Bama, they're the country. Their defense is great. They're great. They really have no weak. They're clearly the favorite to win the national title. Bama big. Justin, you agree with me?
Oh yeah, they're just LSU does not have a quarterback right now. They're really struggling offensively. Their defense, I think, is getting a bit better, but not much. They love that screen to either Waddle or Smith. They're going to decoy one of them, let the other one go. I think Bama puts up 49, and for Joe, your boy Mac Jones is going to put up some big Heisman numbers just to try to pad his lead with Kyle Trask as they go neck and neck here in the final few weeks here. But yeah, Alabama huge. Saban should be back on the sidelines.
Joe made the comment, Mac is the man.
He's had a huge year, and this is a revenge game too for Bama. I think Saban would love to pour it on LSU on Saturday night.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're gonna get to college. We had 4 storied programs playing last night: Duke, Michigan State, Kansas, and Kentucky. And my takeaway first from the Duke Michigan State game, the team had more depth and had more experience, won the game. I think that was the biggest reason. You saw Watts had a big Michigan State. You saw the depth of Michigan State. Their bench was clearly better than Duke's bench. Johnson, the best player for Duke, he didn't have a great. Hurt seems to be their best player so far, because he had 21 points. He's obviously their most experienced player. Duke is kind of a lesser version of Kentucky. They've been doing a lot of the one and done. Michigan State, more of a program that builds juniors and seniors. So the more experience, and the team won that game last night. And in the Kentucky-Kansas game, one thing that was obvious is Kansas won. They really missed Dotson, and they really miss Azubuike. And Kentucky, it's them starting over again. And it just begs you the question, one and done still work anymore? Because it seems like Kentucky is just getting worse and worse every year with this one and done.
Yeah, actually, I want to mention the one and done thing. I've never been a big fan. I think because really it's worked 2 years. Duke in 2015 with Julio Okafor, 2012 with Anthony Davis at Kentucky. Other than that, they haven't won many champions. They haven't won. None of these one-on-one teams have worked out for them. And I want to say, kids, actually, the last time Kentucky lost in the Elite Eight, 2019 or whatever, there was people walking out of that game, I guess, wanting to fire Calipari. So, which I just think wacky. Kentucky
Listen, as a UConn fan, I love seeing Calipari lose. I acknowledge he's a really good coach and a great recruiter, but I love seeing him lose as a UConn fan.
Oh yeah, me too. I love seeing Krzyzewski lose as well. But but my big takeaway from those two games were about in both games combined, both teams were 15 for 81, I believe it was.
I saw that. They couldn't shoot threes at all. It's like the anti-NBA. Nobody could hit a three.
Yeah.
And that just changes the way you play defense too, because you know guards can't penetrate and kick out. Everything's pretty much one-on-one. There's no double team, so you pretty much don't get really any open looks if you can't shoot threes.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's and exactly nobody could hit a shot last night, and either four teams. But I'll start with the takeaways from Michigan State Duke. They got down 13-3 at Aaron Henry. No more Cassius Winston, and Aaron Henry was able to kind of get them going again. And the problem was Duke was forcing turnovers early on in that game, and they got layups. Again, once it seems like this is the third straight year, Duke will not win games by shooting. They have to force turnovers and get in transition and get easy layups. And if they can't do that, there's a problem. They're not great shooting wise. You saw it last night. They struggled in Coppin State, who they were a 40-point favorite with. They really struggled in that game. And you're exactly right. I think college basketball, the right mix is some seniors with some, again, it's not bad to have a one and done or two, but not a whole team. And I think that the experience beats out, the one and dones here in college basketball. And I think the last thing I'm going to talk about for Duke here, that's their third non-conference loss since 2000 at home. But I think the thing is this year at Cameron Indoors is without no fans, teams aren't going to be intimidated to go to Cameron Indoors this year.
Oh, no way.
I think there's going to be some games where Duke finds a way to pull out at home that they're not going to be able to do this year. And I'm going to love seeing that because I do not like Duke being a UConn fan. But then going to Kentucky-Kansas game, this was very ugly shooting-wise. Jalen Wilson really was a huge factor. He was the only one that can make a field goal in the second half for Kansas for the first 16 minutes. I'm surprised Calipari didn't at least try to double him up just because Kansas could not hit anything. David McCormick, who I thought their big guy was going to step up this year, he was -10, I believe, last night. Or no, -8. He was -10 against Gonzaga in point in the plus or minus category. He was 1 for 9. He can get the line to hit the free throws, but they need him to get going. Marcus Garrett, who I think is going to be good for them this year, he was sick last night. You could tell that he was under the weather. It was not COVID related. He tested negative. Don't know what illness he had, but he was under the weather definitely. And then for Kentucky, they need Terrence Clark to play a lot better. Again, it's poor decisions. 3 for 21 from 3. You got to try something else, go to the basket. And I'm not, I know we were talking about it last night. I'm not a big Dick Vitale fan, but I really liked when he said these guys, these kids need to know what their strengths and weaknesses are. And I think that's some of the problems with some of these freshmen is, I think that maybe high school, they're able to hit these jumpers. Again, they're just better in multiple levels than the kids are playing against. And now you get here and it evens out. And I don't think they've learned what they're absolutely good at this level than what they've been prior. So I think both teams got to figure that out. And then last thing I'm going to mention about both games is for Kentucky Duke too. I forgot to mention this. Even last week, I wanted to mention this. I forgot. Is with all the up and down scheduling this year and all the practices not being on campus this summer, it's definitely a negative because these guys haven't played with each other. They, there's no chemistry. They haven't practiced with each other. It's just a wacky year, and it's a tough thing to come into an environment, especially when you don't have leadership, upperclassmen that kind of can help you get through it. They don't have any of that. They're kind of they just kind of got to plow through it, and I think they're going to go through their bumps. I think both teams are going to go through their struggles this year.
Yeah. I completely agree with you there. Now we go to the games today, and we got the Maui fight, UNC and Texas, and I personally think that UNC will win. I like Roy Williams. I think Garrison Brooks and Caleb Love are two pretty good players. I think the inside game of Garrison Brooks will make the difference. But can the guard play of Ramsey and Coleman be enough for Texas to beat North Carolina?
Yeah, I get the horns in this one. Shaka Smart's got this whole team back. They're playing really well right now. And I think it's a team last year that ended 5 straight wins before COVID shut down. I think they're playing with fuel, and I think they got a chip on their shoulder. I think Coleman do enough, him and Ramsey. But I think the difference maker in this one is that power forward is Greg Brown, the 5-star freshman from Austin, Texas, the only newcomer. The only difference on the team from last year. I think he does enough to slow them down. Again, North Carolina, we saw last year, guard play struggled. I'm interested to see, how they do today against Coleman and Ramsey, how Caleb Love does against them. And I'm going to take Shaka. I really like Shaka as a coach. I know he struggled at Texas so far, but I'm gonna take the Horns. They won their first ever Maui Invitational.
Wow. So we got the Jimmy V Classic night. We got number 5, Illinois, number 2, Baylor. In my opinion, Baylor's got the best backcourt in the country with and Butler. But Illinois has got a great score. I'm trying to pronounce his name. I think it's Dusmazu or Duisma. Yeah, he's averaging 25 points a game. But I do think it's going to be a close competitive. But I think Baylor backcourt wins it close. But the question I have, Justin, is, can Illinois' size be the difference in them beating Baylor tonight?
I think it could. Kofi Cockburn, right? One of the best big men in the league, or in the country, I should say. I think he could kind of have his way against Jonathan. Against the new guy, Jonathan Tuakama. It's a crazy last name. Because they haven't gone up against a big guy I think Kofi Cockburn is one of the strongest, players in college basketball. He's an absolute beast on the glass, and he's a great finisher down low. 7 feet tall, 285. He's an old school type of guy. He's not gonna hit any shots outside. He's gonna be in the block, and he's gonna dominate you down low. I think it's gonna make Baylor have to force the double team at times. And I think, he's going to be able to kick it out to Ayo Domaz and the rest of those shooters that Illinois has. And I think Illinois gets this one.
Oh, nice. We got two upsets there, Texas and Illinois. But we're going to wrap up the show just talking about a signing the Red Sox made. Yesterday, they signed Eduardo Rodriguez to a 1-year, $8.3 million deal. He avoids arbitration. Unfortunately, he contracted COVID-19. He was out the whole year, contracted COVID-19, and was diagnosed with myocarditis and an inflammatory heart condition. So this is a safe 1-year deal. He won 19 games in 2019. So I think this is, and the Red Sox need pitching. They have enough hitting with Bogarts and JD and Devers. I think they need to bulk up the pitching staff. So I think getting Erod to that, signing Erod to the 1-year deal is going to help. And now you got Chris Sale coming off Tommy John. You don't know what's going to happen there, but one thing we will know is I feel like the Red Sox pitching will be a little bit better than it was last year.
Yeah, because Eduardo had a huge year in 2019. Because I think they're thinking summer he's going to be back from Tommy John. So I don't think he's going to be back for the start, I believe. But Rodriguez is definitely going to be a huge piece of the team. He had such a breakout year. Hopefully, things are getting better, because I know he was struggling, the summer, with the diagnosis. I what you said. So, hopefully he can bounce back this year, because, the Red Sox did not have much of that, and they love to kind of get him back. He'd probably be their ace. If Sale isn't ready to go day one, he'd probably be their number one guy, him or Eovaldi. He was solid, and then, definitely the Red Sox do need pitching.
Absolutely. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin Nafrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week previewing Week 14 of the NFL season and Week 15 of the college football season. Have a great weekend, everyone.